Hi, it's week 3 in our session on how to play by ear. Getting ready for Christmas is getting closer, but this doesn't just apply for Christmas. Eventually we're going to turn this series into DVDs that you can order. And hopefully that you're following along in the Play Music with No Music book. And also I've got a lot of comments this week about I don't know the chords that well yet. So you may also want to look at the explanation of my first aid emergency chord kit. This tells you everything you need to know to play every chord. It also gets into the circle in more detail and will help you a lot with your ear playing. So today we're going to talk about the basic 7 chords that you need to know and how to invert them, because you've probably figured out by now you can't really play the chords in the root position without looking down and looking up, and when that happens it's pretty easy to get lost and lose your concentration. So we'll talk about that today, and I hope you are having fun studying with me, and I look forward to doing this lesson with you. Okay, we're ready to start. So hopefully you've learned the basic 3 chords. You know that to play the C chord and number 43, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, and you've learned C chord and F chord and G chord. And it doesn't matter where you play it on the keyboard. All right, so today we're going to go to the next step, and we're going to go really, really slow. We'll go all the way up to probably lesson 6 or 7, or maybe into 8, depending on how far we decide to take this. So hopefully you started learning a few songs, and here's how I organize my thoughts. Generally, I don't really remember what songs I've learned by ear, so you can start with a piece of paper and just do what I've done here. Take the songs I know by ear and just start with your very first one. A really good one to start is Happy Birthday. So I put the name of the song and I put the first note of the melody. You know the first chord is always C, and so you play the chord and then I can start Happy Birthday. Jingle Bells, first note is E. Amazing Grace, first note is G. So you can just kind of keep a little list, and as you get better at this, your list will get longer and longer, and pretty soon you'll have just pages and pages of songs that you can sit down and play by ear. So it's a great hint that I've learned because I forget what I've learned. So this kind of keeps things in line for me. Okay? Now, the first thing I want you to do this week is learn how to spell what I call the Bisquick chords. And in my first aid chord kit, I've taken a lot of razzing over the years about my Bisquick method, but it works really, really well, and it makes the chords very simple. And if you go through my book, you'll learn the major, minor, diminished, augmented, 6th, major, 7th, 7th, 9th chords, 11th chord suspended, all of them. But they all go back to the root of these 7 chords. So I want you to learn them this week, and they're pretty easy. They're just every other letter of the music alphabet. The music alphabet goes from A to A. There's no H. It goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then it just repeats over and over and over. So if you look at these 7 basic chords, every chord comes from these. You can make them minor, diminished, augmented, anything else, but the root of the chord, the letter, never changes. That's why I call it the Bisquick chord, because Bisquick is a basic mix that you can add different things to make it all kinds of recipes. I have a big fat Bisquick recipe book. But basically, all of them have Bisquick in them. So these 7 chords are the basis for every other chord. So once you learn how to spell them, when I didn't know chords, I did know triads. My teacher never told me that that was a C chord, but I learned to spell them. So learning chords for me was easier because of it. So here's how it works. The C chord is C, invisible D, F, E, invisible F, and G. So it's C, E, G. And God gave me 5 fingers, I think, so I can learn how to spell the chords with my fingers. F, invisible G, A, B, and C. So it's F, A, C. G chord, G, invisible, A, B, invisible, C, and D. Those three chords are all white notes for major chords. And the sign for a major chord is just a C or an F, just a plain letter by itself. The A chord, the D chord, and the E chord, I call them the aid chords. They're the chords that need help. The help comes in the form of a sharp in the middle. Now remember, this is the root position. So A is the root of the chord, or the name of the chord, means it's at the bottom like the root of a tree. A, C sharp, and E. D, F sharp, and A. E, G sharp, and B. So those three chords, A chord, D chord, and E chord, are every other note, but the middle note is sharped in the root position. So remember last week we talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each note of the scale has a number. So in the C scale, C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, and G is 5. 1, 3, 5. So the rule for a major chord is C, E, G. First, third, fifth. All right? So a D chord, and remember 43, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That'll give you 1, 3, 5 in any key. So a D is D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 3, and 5. C, D, E, F, G. All right, in my chord book, there's lots of exercises that will help you with that also. Okay? All right. So that's why some scales have sharps in them. Some chords have sharps in them, because they all follow those patterns. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about it because this is supposed to be an easy class. But for now, you just need to learn how to spell those 7 chords. It's really, really important. A lot of people learn to play them just because they memorize them. It's kind of like learning how to read without knowing phonics. So it's pretty important to you right now, if I really want you to expand and you want to grow, that you do this page right here. Okay? So you probably figured by now that playing these chords, even C, F, and G, is very difficult to play by ear and jump all around. You probably see my cat's tail going through this video because she just walked by. And you'll probably hear her because her name is Jazzy and she loves music. So every time I play the piano, she comes in here and sits down by the piano and listens to me play. So C chord, F chord, G chord. Now it's really hard to not look at that and to hit those chords accurately without looking. On a piano, you can kind of get away with playing chords in the root position. On a keyboard, you really can't do that as easily. So it kind of is really important right now that I teach you how to invert the chords. So invert means to turn them over, to flip them around. You don't have to play the chords in the root position to keep them in the right mode, okay? So if I'm playing a C chord, C, E, G, all right, it's kind of like a Bisquick recipe. I don't have to put the Bisquick in first. I can put all the ingredients in first and then throw the Bisquick in at the end. So this chord has 3 ingredients, a C, an E, and a G. I can put them I can take the C off the bottom and put it on the top, and that is still a C chord. It still has a C, an E, and a G. I could turn the chord over again, and now I still have C, E, G, and if I turn it over again, I'm back to the root position, okay? So this is called, if the name of the chord is on the bottom, it's called the root position, meaning like the tree, all right? If I take the C and I put it on the top, if there's three people in a race, and I finish on top, the C's on top, that means I'm first. This is a C chord in the first inversion. It means I turned it over once. Now, if I take the chord and turn it over again and put the E on the top, now the C note is in the middle. If I'm in a race of 3 people and I finish in the middle, I'm second. So this is a C chord in the second inversion. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. Now if you notice, this is every other note. If I turn it over, now I have a small space at the bottom and a big space at the top. If I turn it over again, I have a big space at the bottom and a small space at the top. So you can kind of look at it that way, and that's how the chords will feel to you. So here's how it looks. You have a C, E, G. Now I'm just going to take the C off the bottom and put it on the top. And here I take the E off the bottom and put it on the top. If you'll notice, the same 3 ingredients or the same 3 letters are in all 3 chords. They're just presented in a different order. All 3 are C chords, so it doesn't matter how you play them as long as you have the ingredients in there. Okay? All right, so here's the basic 3 chords that I would like you to learn. This week, and I don't really care if you learn the A, D, the E, and the B, okay? I want you to learn how to invert the chords, these 3 chords, C, F, and G. What happens is I want you to learn to eventually get all of your chords in the octaves of Fs that surrounds a C. It can be in this octave, and if you want to play your melody higher, because they sound kind of nice on a piano right around here. But when you get down here, the chords can get a little muddy. So when you're practicing, you can practice at middle C or you can practice here. But the key is you need to stay in that octave of Fs. If you go below it or above it, it's going to require you to probably look down. And the goal this week is to not look down. So I want you to learn to play the basic 3 chords, C, F, and G. And I'd like you to learn to play the C chord, G, C, E. All right? And there's an old book called The Pointer System. You may remember it. There's a little poem that you can learn. It's called Pointer on C, up 2, down 3. Okay? So pointer on C, up 2, down 3. If you just remember that, that will put you in the basic C position. And that also puts you very close to that octave of F. See how I did that? So pointer on C, up 2, down 3. Or I can go down here. Pointer on C, up 2, down 3. All right. That is the most common way that people play C chord. All right. Now watch what's really kind of cool about this. The F chord is A, C, F. If you notice, there's a common note here between the 2 chords. The G moves up 1 to A and the E moves up 1 to F. So the C chord is here. The F chord, just hold the C note down, raise your thumb up and your little finger and just kind of flip the chord over while holding that C chord, the C note, excuse me. Okay, so just practice this all week long. C, F, C to F, C to F, over and over and over. Okay? Now, on a piano, you have to pick up the C and repeat it. On a keyboard, which we'll do in the next session, you really don't have to pick the note up, just hold it down. If you do that on a piano, the C will probably die away and you'll only hear 2 notes of the 3-note chord. Okay, the other chord that you're going to learn is C to G. Now, if you look, C to G chord has a G is the common note, C goes down to B, and E goes down to D. So you have a C chord and a G chord and a C chord, and you hold the bottom note and you just drop the top 2. C, G, C, F, C, G, that is, you will never have to look down. You literally can sit and play those chords without looking at your hand. C chord, F chord, C chord, G chord. And that's kind of your goal this week. Now, watch. When I play Jingle Bells, now remember the rule? Hold the C chord, find the first note. It's E. Alright, so I'm going to play. Now, I could get to an F chord without looking. See, I'm not jumping around anymore. That is going to make such a difference this week when you play. If you just learn the C chord to the F chord to the C chord to the G chord in that inversion. Okay? And now I also know that I can spell those chords in the root position, which will allow me later on to play the chords anywhere. Alright? So that's the lesson for this session. And the next session we're going to talk about minor chords. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I think this applies really well to keyboards and digital pianos and organs. Learning how to invert your chords, turn them over so you don't get that bobblehead effect and have to keep looking up and down. So here's your assignment for week 3. I want you to spell the basic 7 chords. Learn how to spell them and just get them in your head. Put them on little 3x5 cards, take them with you, put them in your cell phone, and when you're just sitting around, just practice spelling them. Then learn to invert the basic 7 chords while you're playing and do that exercise that I showed you. And then learn the octave position chords in that octave of F's that surrounds middle C. So you can do this. Remember, you can turn on your drums. Makes it a little more fun to practice the chords. They get kind of boring after a while. So just remember that to check out our website at www.sacramentomusicgroup.com and also musicinNewcastle.com to see other videos that we've made that will take you right to the YouTube. You can also like us on Facebook, which we're enjoying. I'm getting better at watching them and responding to you. So you can go to our website, sacramentomusicgroup.com, and there's a link to our Facebook page. I'll see you next session.